Nesses próximos minutos, eu te convido a entrar nas minhas paixões.
In these next few minutes, I invite you to enter into my passion.
Ficou curiosa? Então vamos lá.
Are you curious? Then let's get to it.
Que você ser negra?
ADKDW Rec.
Academy of the Arts of the World. Learning to Listen. Learning to Listen is a podcast format that explores different forms of listening and not listening, learning and unlearning to listen, dedicated to sounds, songs, narratives, and auditory events, and why some of them are heard and others not. Learning to Listen 1 with Danielle Almeida.
Saudações para você que me escuta de algum lugar desse mundo da internet. Eu sou Danielle Almeida, mulher negra, cantora, pesquisadora e ativista pela vida das mulheres e na luta antirracista.
Greetings to you who listen from somewhere in this digital world. I am Danielle Almeida, Black woman, singer, researcher and activist for women's life and in the anti-racist fight. It is my great pleasure to be here to present the program Learning to Listen, which will talk about the protagonism of Black female singers in Latin American music.
Nesses próximos minutos, eu te convido a entrar nas minhas paixões.
In these next few minutes, I invite you to enter into my passions because I'm going to present, especially for you, a fragment of my research on the life and repertoires of Black Latin American singers of the 20th century.
Ficou curiosa? Então vamos lá. Mas antes de começar, eu quero te fazer uma provocação. Quantas cantoras negras latino-americanas você conhece?
Are you curious? Then let's get to it. But before we start, I want to make a provocation. How many Black Latin American singers do you know? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Whether you know one, several, or no Black Latin American female singers, this program will introduce you to 5 exceptional women. Besides being great singers, each one of them had and still has a very important role in making visible the Afro-diasporic cultural musical heritage and also a very important role in the fight against racism. Because music is politics, yes sir.
Eu gosto de dizer e repito sempre que por trás de uma nota musical sempre há uma vida acontecendo.
I like to say and always repeat that behind a musical note there's always a life going on. For me, more than the voice, the important thing is to understand what life produces the art that affects me. That is why I came here to talk about these women, and as a form of deep gratitude, I will pay tribute to each of them by singing and performing important works from their respective repertoires.
Bora, bora, bora.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Without further ado, we will hear in honor of the Cuban singer Merceditas Valdez, the Canto a Elegua, which is part of the Afro-Cuban popular repertoire. With arrangements by Samuel Cartes and interpretation by Danielle Almeida, Canto a Elegua.
Mojuba, Omo de Conigo Ibarago, Ago Mojuba, Elegua e Chulona. Ibarago Mojuba, Ibarago, Ago Mojuba. Omo de Conigo Ibarago, Ago Mojuba, Elegua e Chulona. Faralaiki Mojuba, Ibarago, Ago Mojuba, ibarago agomojuba elegua echulona Exuona Echuo eleguae Echuo eleguae Elegua amon fori vale baba oba elegua ago Echuo eleguae Echuo Fori vale baba oba elegua ago Echuo elegua Echuo elegua Elegua mon fori vale baba oba elegua ago Exuna 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 Laroexu, 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 Mojuba.
Acabamos de escutar um canto do repertório sagrado iorubá, dedicado ao orixá Exu, ou Eleguá, como também é chamado em Cuba.
We have just listened to a chant from the Yoruba sacred repertoire dedicated to the Orisha Exu, or Eleguá, as it is also called in Cuba. African deity present in the diaspora, especially in Cuba and Brazil, Exu represents the essence of movement without which nothing gets done. Exu is the dynamic of the universe, the rhythm of all things. For this reason, Exu is always the first to be greeted and to whom we ask for permission and the opening of paths.
Com esse canto, homenageamos a cantora Mercedita Valdez.
With this song, we pay tribute to singer Merceditas Valdez, born on September 24, 1922, and died on June 13, 1996. Merceditas began her career as contestant on radio programs, began singing rumba and other popular genres of the time, but the visibility and recognition came when, with great talent, but especially with great boldness, Merceditas began to sing weekly on radio Cadena Suaritos, the sacred songs of Cuban Santeria, which until then were performed only in religious ceremonies.
Mercedita Valdez foi a primeira artista a levar os cantos sagrados afro-cubanos às rádios de Cuba e do mundo, e a primeira mulher a cantar esse gênero acompanhada dos tambores batá.
Merceditas Valdez was the first artist to bring Afro-Cuban sacred songs to radio stations in Cuba and around the world, and the first woman to sing this genre accompanied by the batá drums. In 1941, Merceditas Valdez earned anthropologist Fernando Ortiz the codename La Pequeña Hache de Cuba, or Cuba's Little Luck in a free translation. Eleguá, Ochum, Oya, Shango, Yemaja, divinities of the Black African spiritual universe, was saved in the Afro-diasporic memory thanks to the interpretation and the phonographic record of the voice and the courage of this singer who gave us the opportunity to learn, interpret and re-signify the African world in the diaspora through songs.
A próxima canção que vamos ouvir se chama Linda Flor, mas também é conhecida como Aioiô, uma composição de 1929 que marca o surgimento do gênero samba-canção.
The next song we'll hear is called Linda Flor, but is also known as Ayoyo, a 1929 composition that marks the emergence of the samba-canção genre. The lyrics of romantic love portray aspects of Africanized Portuguese. The Português, meaning Black Portuguese, as it was later called by the great thinker Leila Gonzalez, was considered vulgar and inappropriate in the newly born post-abolition republic. It was 1929. According to the elites, a project of nationhood and development should allude to good manners, Eurocentrism and whiteness. And that is how official Brazil tried to marginalize and sanitize not only the language, but also the largest number of its speakers, the Afro-Brazilians of real Brazil.
Com vocês, Linda Flor, de Henrique Vogeler, Luiz Peixoto.
Now, Linda Flor by Henrique Vogeler, Luiz Peixoto, Marques Porto, with arrangements by Samuel Cartes and performance by Danielle Almeida.
Eu nasci pra sofrer, fui olhar pra você, meu zoinho fechou. E quando o zóio eu abri, quis gritar, quis fugir, mas você, eu não sei por que você me chamou. Ai, oi, oi. Tenha pena de mim, meu senhor do bom fim. Pode em té se zangar. Se ele um dia souber que você é que é o ioiô de iaia. Ai, ioiô. Eu nasci pra sofrer, fui olhar pra você, meu zoinho fechou. E quando o zóio eu abri, quis gritar, quis fugir, mas você, eu não sei por que você me chamou. Ai, oi, oi, tenha pena de mim, meu senhor do bom fim. Pode em té se zangar. Se ele um dia souber que você é que é o ioiô de iaia. Chorei toda noite e pensei nos beijos de amor que te dei. Ioiô, meu benzinho do meu coração, me leva pra casa, me deixa, mas não. Chorei toda noite e pensei nos beijos de amor que te dei. Ioiô, meu benzinho do meu coração, me leva pra casa, me deixa, mas não. Ai, ioiô, tenha pena de mim, meu senhor do bom fim. Pode em té se zangar.
Agora que vocês ouviram a música, eu vou falar um pouquinho da minha homenageada. Elisete Cardoso, a Divina, como foi apelidada a cantora negra brasileira.
Now that you've heard the song, I will tell you a bit about my honoree. Elisete Cardoso, the Divine, as the Black Brazilian singer was nicknamed. Elisete was born on July 16, 1920, in Rio de Janeiro, and died in the same city on May 7, 1990. Owner of an extraordinary voice, her musical formation was in the serenades organized by her father, in her mother's carnival block, and in the meetings of musicians at Tia Ciata's house, the cradle of samba. Discovered as a singer at the age of 16 by Jacó do Bandolim, one of the greatest singers of the continent was born.
Com uma carreira promissora e em crescimento, a diversidade que atravessa a vida das mulheres negras também atravessou a vida de Elisete Cardoso.
With a promising and growing career, the adversity that goes through the lives of black women also went through the life of Elisete Cardoso. And in the late 1940s, divorced with 2 small children and few resources, as a survival strategy, Elisete learned to drive and became a taxi driver at night in Rio de Janeiro, and then switched back and forth between music and the cab.
Ousada demais essa mulher.
Far too bold, this woman, in addition to a beautiful voice, as journalist Veronica Arana says. Elisete Cardoso, the Divine, was not only divine for her voice, but also for supporting ideals and life projects that were completely unacceptable to the society of the time. In time, Elisete's career took off and she became the Lady of Samba Canção. She was also the precursor of Bossa Nova, recording in 1958 the album Canção do Amor Demais, with compositions by Vinícius de Moraes and Tom Jobim.
A sensibilidade musical de Elisete Cardoso deixou uma obra de valor inestimável.
Elisete Cardoso's musical sensibility left a priceless work. Her drive, artistry, and daring made the Divine one of the greatest interpreters of the popular Brazilian music of all times.
A nossa próxima canção se chama
Our next song is called Angelitos Negros and is a tribute to Mexican singer Toña La Negra. This beautiful bolero is based on the poem Píntame Angelitos Negros by the Venezuelan poet Andrés Eloy Blanco, which was later put to music by Mexican composer Manuela Vares Maciste. With arrangements by Samuel Cartes and interpretation by Danielle Almeida, Angelitos Negros.
pintar un ángel negro.
Tenía 7 años apenas 7 años. ¿Qué 7 años? No llegaba a 5 siquiera. De pronto unas voces en la calle me gritaron negra. ¿Soy acaso negra, me? ¿Qué cosa es ser negra?
Pintar un ángel negro.
Eso es. Dale. Sabor. Eso es.
A música que vocês acabaram de ouvir é um manifesto antirracista que vem emocionando e cumprindo sua função questionadora há quase 80 anos.
The song you have just heard is an anti-racist manifesto which has been moving and fulfilling its questioning role for almost 80 years. Among Toña La Negra's songs, I chose Angelitos Negros because I believe very much in its educational and political role.
Eu sempre fiquei imaginando qual foi a reação do público.
I always wondered what the public's reaction was to the audacity of a black singer in Mexico in the 1950s to choose a piece like this for her repertoire.
Eu costumo dizer sempre que o repertório...
I always say that the repertoire of a singer is a conscious choice, and that in cases like this, the choice becomes a political movement that goes far beyond the aesthetic movement. For me, no one was more protagonist than Toña La Negra in interpreting this song.
Nascida em 17 de outubro de 1912,
born on October 17, 1912, and died on December 16, 1982, Toña La Negra was from Veracruz, one of the territories of the largest black presence in Mexico. And that is exactly what you heard. For those who didn't know, Mexico is Afro-Diaspóric territory.
La Reina del Bolero, como foi chamada até o fim de sua vida,
La Reina del Bolero, as she was called until the end of her life, had recorded over 75 records and with her powerful voice achieved national and international fame. This artist was considered by critics as one of the most important singers of the golden age of Mexican and Latin American radio broadcasting, and was also a great icon in the implementation of television in Mexico.
La Reina deu vida a uma infinidade de boleros.
La Reina gave life to a multitude of boleros, which was her main musical genre. With a deep and powerful voice, she sang like no other the thousand faces of love and disillusionment. But she also chose to sing about the discrimination and daily racism to which all non-white people are subjected, whether in Brazil, Mexico, or, I would say, the whole of America.
Na América inteira. A nossa próxima canção, Ilusiones Vanas.
Our next song, Ilusiones Vanas, is a waltz I will sing in honor of my inspirational muse, Peruvian Victoria Santa Cruz.
Composição de César e Vitória
Composed by César and Victoria Santa Cruz, arranged by Samuel Cartes, and performed by Danielle Almeida, Ilusiones Vanas.
Quiero que llegue a ti en forma de canción, lo que en mi propia voz nunca pudiste oír, que otros labios al cantar por mí digan que te quiero desde que te conocí. Quiero que llegue a ti en forma de canción, lo que en mi propia voz no te pudo decir, y en mis versos puedas descubrir la angustia que anida en mi corazón. Ya ves que necesito tenerte entre mis brazos, que arrancar tu recuerdo no podré de mi ser. Me aferro una esperanza, me agobia el desconsuelo. No sé, pero algo nuevo tendrá que suceder. Son ilusiones vanas, me digo, y aún presiento del lado del fantasma rondar cerca de mí. Cuando en divagaciones de una loca esperanza mi voz quebra el silencio diciendo te perdí. Quiero que llegue a ti en forma de canción, lo que en mi propia voz no te pudo decir, y en mis versos puedas descubrir la angustia que anida en mi corazón. Ya ves que necesito tenerte entre mis brazos, que arrancar tu recuerdo no podré de mi ser. Me aferro una esperanza, me agobia el desconsuelo. No sé, pero algo nuevo tendrá que suceder. Son ilusiones vanas, me digo, y aún presiento del lado del fantasma rondar cerca de mí. Cuando en divagaciones de una loca esperanza mi voz quebra el silencio diciendo te perdí. Mi voz quebra el silencio diciendo te perdí. Mi voz quebra el silencio diciendo te perdí.
Victoria, Victoria, Victoria. Onde você estiver, por favor, Perdoe as minhas imperfeições ao interpretar suas obras.
Victoria, 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 wherever you are, please forgive my imperfections in interpreting your works. Those who know Victoria Santa Cruz's biography or had the honor of living with her understand why I'm concerned. This extraordinary woman of strength, precision, discipline, integrity, and pride always had these adjectives as inseparable traits of her personality.
Como traços indissociáveis da sua personalidade. Victoria Santa Cruz nasceu em Lima em 27 de outubro de 1922.
Victoria Santa Cruz was born in Lima on October 27, 1922, and died in the same city on August 30th, 2014. There's much to say about this great woman. She was an intellectual, choreographer, playwright, costume designer, composer, singer. In short, many and many were her talents.
Victoria Santa Cruz foi denominada.
Victoria Santa Cruz has also been called the mother of Afro-Peruvian culture. With countless awards, Santa Cruz is among the most important researchers of popular culture in the world.
Sua trajetória se iniciou com a criação do Cumanana em 1958.
Her career began with the creation of the Cumanana in 1958, a fundamental group in the establishment of black identity in Peru. Formed by a caste composed invariably of black women and men, Cumanana also opened what came to be the foundations of black theatre in Peru.
Como fruto do sucesso dessa companhia,
as a result of the success of this company, Victoria had her studies in choreographic direction, costume design, and physiology of movement funded by the French government in Paris. After years of study, Victoria returns to Peru and starts the Black Theatre and Dance of Peru, which, besides artistic training, had the objective of reinforcing self-esteem and promoting the empowerment of its cast through the construction of knowledge about Africa and the diaspora.
Victoria foi a primeira diretora do Conjunto Nacional de Folclore do Instituto Nacional de Cultura Peruana.
Victoria was the first director of the National Folklore Ensemble of the National Institute of Peruvian Culture, a professor at Carnegie Mellon University in the United States, and a rhythm coach for major dance companies, such as the one directed by choreographer Peter Brook.
Como parte da imensidão de sua obra, se destaca o poema Me Gritaram Negra.
As part of the immensity of her work, the poem They Shouted Black at Me stands out. This poem has been spread and known around the world in recent years, and in my opinion, it is a cry of outrage against racist violence and is also a manifesto of strength and pride of a whole people that expresses in this powerful work the consciousness, pride and dignity of black people in the diaspora.
Esse programa, para mim, é muito especial por inúmeras razões.
This program is very special to me for a number of reasons, but one of them is the fact that this program will air in the month that Victoria Santa Cruz's centennial celebrations begin. Starting October 27th, 2021, a multitude of activities will begin. A whole year of projects, lectures and performances in Peru and abroad to discuss, to remember, to revive and to honor the life and works of this extraordinary woman and artist. We are already coming to the end of this program and there's still much, much, much to be said about these women.
Já estamos chegando ao final desse encontro. E ainda há muito, muito, muito que ser dito sobre essas mulheres.
Sadly, we move on to the next and final song, which is the Milonga Negra Maria by Argentinian composers Lucio de Mar and Homero Manzi. Composed in 1941, its most spectacular interpreter was her, La Perla Negra del Tango, or the Black Pearl of Tango, the Uruguayan singer Lágrima Rios.
Ou a Pérola Negra do Tango, a cantora uruguaia Lágrima Rios. Nascida em 26 de setembro de 1924 e falecida em 25 de dezembro de 2006.
Born on September 26, 2024, and deceased on December 25, 2006, Lágrima Rios was an outstanding candombe, milonga, and tango singer. All these rhythms of creation and black presence in Uruguay and Argentina, that's exactly what you heard just now. For those who didn't know, tango is black music.
Majestosa em suas interpretações, Lágrima Rios conquistou os títulos de Dama do Candombe e Pérola Negra do Tango.
Majestic in her interpretations, Lágrima Rios earned the titles The Lady of Candombe and Black Pearl of Tango. Her talent was as remarkable and great as her courage and bravery. The black, working-class singer became a key player in the race for narratives and space within the male chauvinistic tango universe.
Em feito extraordinário,
in what was an extraordinary achievement, Lágrima Ríos was named an honorary member of Uruguay's National Tango Academy, an unprecedented title given to a woman by this institution. La Perla Negra del Tango reached out and elevated her powerful voice not only in music, but also in the anti-racist fight. Between rehearsals and performances, Lágrima Ríos was president of Mundo Afro, a civil society organization dedicated to the fight against racism, the vindication and defense of the rights and visibility of black people in Uruguay.
Caminhando para o final desse programa, além de ouvirmos a Milonga Negra Maria, eu também gostaria de me despedir de você que me acompanhou até aqui.
I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my entire team, the team of the Academia da Kunst der Welt, without whom the realization of this program would not be possible, and to give special thanks to these extraordinary women, Merceditas Valdes, Elisete Cardoso, Tonya La Negra, Victoria Santa Cruz, and Lágrima Ríos, for inspiring, empowering, and delighting me with their biographies and their works.
Procure por esses nomes nas plataformas digitais.
Search for these names on digital platforms. Listen to the works of these singers, spread their names, and encourage the continuity of their legacies.
Com vocês, então, Negra Maria.
Now, Negra Maria, with arrangement by Samuel Cartes and interpretation by Danielle Almeida.
E nos vemos na próxima vez.
It's goodbye from me now, and see you next time.
Nació María y está en la cuna, nació de día, tendrá fortuna, bordar a la madre su vestido blanco y entrar a la fiesta con un traje largo y será la reina cuando María cumpla 15 años. Te llamaremos Negra María, Negra María, que abriste los ojos en carnaval. Ojos grandes tendrá María, dientes de nácar color moreno. Ay, qué rojos serán tus labios, ay, qué cadencia tendrá tu cuerpo. Vamos al baile, vamos María, negra la madre, negra la niña negra, cantarán para vos las guitarras y los violines y los rezongos del bandoneón. Te llamaremos Negra María, Negra María, que abriste los ojos en carnaval. Bruna murió María y está en la cuna, se fue de día sin ver la luna. Cubrirán tu sueño con un paño blanco y te irás del mundo con un traje largo. jamás, ya nunca. Negra María tendrá 15 años. Te lloraremos, Negra María. Negra María, cerraste los ojos en carnaval. Ay, qué triste fue tu destino, ángel de mota, clavel moreno. Ay, qué oscuro será tu lecho, ay, qué silencio tendrá tu sueño. Vas para el cielo, Negra María, llora la madre, duerme la niña negra, sangrarán para vos las guitarras y los violines y las angustias del bandoneón. Te lloraremos, Negra María, Negra María, cerraste los ojos en carnaval.
Learning to Listen 1 with Danielle Almeida. Vocals and narration, Danielle Almeida. Musicians, Danielle Almeida, voice, Samuel Cartes, piano, Jéssica Nunes, accordion, Ingrid Cavalcanti, double bass, Jason Chaves, cajon, Franklin Santos, congas. Dedicated to the lives and works of Mercedita Valdés, Elisete Cardoso, Toña la Negra, Victoria Santa Cruz, and Lágrimas Ríos. Translation, Carla Mendonça dos Santos Dani. Speaker, Noel O'Brien Coker. Learning to Listen is a podcast series produced by Academy of the Arts of the World Cologne, featuring contributions by Danielle Almeida, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Chimurenga, Cape Town, South Africa, Olivier Marbeuf, Paris, France, Tropical Diaspora Records, Berlin, Germany. Learning to Listen, concept and moderation, MAX JORGE HINDERER CRUZ. Production and audio design, Keno Mesher. My name is MAX JORGE HINDERER CRUZ.
ADKDW Rec.